Right, so again, make sure you go to, I think it's page 45. It's around there somewhere. I think it's 45. Actually, it might be. Yeah, 45. Yep. All right, so the last chapter, again, there were a couple of you guys absent yesterday. So in the last chapter, we see um, Uncle Everett comes to visit Woodrow in his house, and he's not really comfortable being there. And he basically just, is checking up on his son. And at the very end, though, kind of interesting is that Uncle Everett goes back into his car after leaving, and there's a woman in his car, and Woodrow thinks his father's maybe cheating on his wife. Obviously, she's still missing.
I was trying to do some missing homework that I have from this class, I think it is. And I can't do it because it says I need permission.
I don't know what you're talking about. Don't worry about making up anything unless I tell you to make it up. Okay? That's Josker talking, right?
Yeah.
All right, yeah, don't worry about it. All right, so let's continue. Chapter 10. Again, make sure you are writing the comments I write. I don't write the comments for myself, they're for you. Okay? It helps you with your questions. All right, so Granny, Grandpa, and Mama got their heads together and came to a decision about mine and Woodrow's habit of running to every picture show that came into town. I thought the new law was dumb. It said children should spend as much time as possible in the fresh air and sunshine. Therefore, no movie going or even television watching was allowed during daylight, except when the weather was bad. All right, so what's this new law? What is the new law? What is the new law? Anybody? Just read it. Are you writing it in the chat? That's why I can't see. No, nobody wrote it in the chat. What's the new law? Estevez? Do you know what the new law is?
Children need fresh air.
Which means they're not allowed to what? Which is basically the law. What are they not allowed
Stay
to?
inside.
And do what, though?
And watch TV.
Exactly, right? So new law is kids have to go outside. They are not allowed to watch TV or movies. Make sure you are writing that down. Now. Okay, so I think it's actually probably a pretty good law, right, for parents. So I don't know if your parents do anything with computer screen time or TV time, or probably nowadays actually it's the best thing is your phone. So you shouldn't be attached to your phone all day long. So you should be doing other things. One thing that sucks now though is the pandemic. Obviously we can't go outside, so it limits what you can do, but you should have time where you're outside doing things, running around, doing whatever, playing. It's actually just good for your body. If you're just in your house all day long, it's just not good. Therefore, no movie going or TV watching was allowed during daylight except when the weather was bad. Bad meant rain or freezing cold. Since we have no hope at all for cold this spring, Woodrow and I prayed a lot for rainy Saturdays, because Rocket Man was being serialized and Tarzan and Roy Rogers took turns as the main feature afterwards. But for reasons unknown to us, God did not want us to see those shows. He did, however, give us an okay on Alfred Hitchcock's Rear Window by sending rain one Sunday afternoon. From Granny's porch, after church, we gleefully watched the first drops splatter on the walkway. So they're happy because it's raining. Because they know they'll be able to watch TV or see a movie. Show starts at 1:30, Woodrow said. We'll just have time to eat dinner first. In the living room, Grandpa and Porter were sharing sections of the Sunday paper, which already had been carefully dissected by Woodrow before church. He had developed a compulsion to be the first one to read the paper on Sunday morning. Mama and Granny were busy in the kitchen with pot roast and potatoes, biscuits and gravy, peas and carrots. Can we help? Woodrow asked. Mom and Granny were both startled enough to stop what they were doing and look at him. So they know that he's doing something weird because he's asking to help cook dinner. So the parents know, like, what? Help in the kitchen, Granny said. Boy, have you had a hard lick on the head? So she's like, are you acting crazy? The sooner we eat, the sooner we can go to the show, he said. The show, Mama said, and looked out the window. Oh, I see. It's raining. She and Granny exchanged one of those amused grown-up looks that said, hey, ain't they cute? We'll set the table, Woodrow said. That's when Porter came in from the living room, ignorant of our conversation, I think, and said to Mama, let's go see Rear Window this afternoon. It starts at 1:30. Oh, is that what's playing? Mama said as she carried a pitcher of iced tea to the dining room table, there beside the kitchen. I don't care about it, but the kids will be chomping at the bit to go. Why don't you take them? Yeah, Woodrow said, without even consulting me. Why don't you? Oh, brother. Me and Porter and Woodrow at the movies together. It was at that precise moment that my head started to hurt. Right, so she doesn't really like her stepfather, so she doesn't want him to be going. So she's kind of aggravated. This is page 46. We're on in Google Docs, which is chapter 10, like page 2 or 3, whatever. Um. Oh. Yeah, Woodrow said without even consulting me. Why don't you? Oh, brother, me, Porter, Woodrow at the movies together. It's at that precise moment. Sorry, head started to hurt. Is that okay by you, Jip? Porter said to me. Jip. Now he's going to start in with that buddy stuff. I shrugged and slapped one of Granny's blue willow plates onto the dinner table. I reckon so, I mumbled, so she's not happy about it. What else could I say when it was put to me like that in a room full of people? I couldn't say I'd rather stick pins under my fingernails, which I would. There was a silence you could just about bump into, and I knew the grown-ups were reviewing the situation, thinking, when is this youngin' going to drop her grudge against Porter? Well, I could tell them when. Never. Isn't it nice of Porter to take you to the show? Granny said, too sweetly. I guess Porter left the room about then, because when I glanced up he was gone and Mama with him. I could imagine them discussing the upcoming event and how to manage me. How come you don't like Porter? Woodrow surprised me by asking. He makes me sick, I said, low enough that Granny couldn't hear me. I think he's keen, Woodrow said. Keen? Where'd he pick that up? Nobody says keen except maybe Jughead in the Archie comics. So, do any of you guys watch Riverdale? Riverdale, no? It's a TV show, I think it was on Channel 9 or something. Um, it's kind of popular. I think it's on Netflix. I hear good things about it. But the show Riverdale is actually based off of this Archie comics. So Archie's comics was a popular comic back in, I guess it has to be in at least the 50s. So it's like teenagers or whatever. It's supposed to be like funny. It used to be, actually, they might even still be in the comic section in the newspapers nowadays. But they updated it, and it's like a teen show that's on Netflix. It actually might still be on even TV, channel like 9 or something. Yeah, and there's a cartoon for Archie, and probably Riverdale too, but it's super popular right now. The kids like it. You guys would probably like it too if you watched it. I slapped 6 napkins onto the table. All through dinner, Woodrow and Porter jabbered about Alfred Hitchcock, and they didn't ask me what I thought about anything. It was like they suddenly were old pals, and I was a bump on a log. What's this an example of? What is that an example of? I was a bump on a log. You could say hyperbole, but there's something else. Yeah, it's metaphor. Good. So you could say either one. Metaphor and hyperbole actually work too. I couldn't eat. I felt nauseous. I had half a mind to stay home. I would. I could practice the piano and do my homework and vacuum dog and help Grandpa listen to the Cleveland Indians on the radio. I wouldn't play with Woodrow when we got home, and I would go to bed early. Notice they use lots of alliteration. This author really likes to use it a lot. Right, so you see the W repeating. So all that W repeating is alliteration. But then I would miss Grace Kelly and Jimmy Stewart. Grace Kelly and Jimmy Stewart are the actor and actress in the movie Rear Window. I felt hot. The rain went on. Now I wished it would stop and the sun would come out so we couldn't go at all. Mama was eyeing me. I declare she could read my mind. So she knows, the mom obviously knows that she doesn't want to go with Porter. Porter drove us down the main street and parked his car in front of the Ben Franklin dime store. Then we walked next door to the theater. "Freehold tickets, Pearl," Porter said to the little woman in the ticket booth. "I can't get 'em in for half fare anymore. They're both 12. "That's what you get for marrying into a ready-made family," Porter Dotson, Pearl said. "That'll be 90 cents. So how much is the cost of one ticket if it's 90 cents? How much is one ticket in 1953? How's our math over there, guys? If it's 3 tickets is 90 cents, what is one ticket? Jeremy? You know. Yep, that's correct, Miss Mangum. Yeah, 30 cents. So I think right now they're like 15 or 16 bucks, which is kind of crazy. They're like super expensive nowadays. Um, I'm actually curious to see whatever happens to the movie industry. They're losing so much money that like all these places are closing. I know Regal Cinemas, they're closing. I have a feeling Netflix is going to be slick. Watch Netflix buy all these movie theaters because they're going to wind up going under. I felt hot. The rain went on. Now I wished it would stop and the sun would come out so we couldn't go at all. Mama was eyeing me. I'll declare she could read my mind. Porter drove us down the main street. Oh yeah, I'm actually farther than that. "Hey, Gypsy," she went on. "Hey, Bell's boy, what's your name again?" "Woodrow." "Oh yeah, that's right. I'll remember that next time. Did you know I used to sell your mom and your Aunt Love tickets when they weren't even big enough to see here in the ticket booth?" "Did you?" Woodrow said. "Did they have to wait for it to rain?" "Huh?" Pearl said, but Porter was pulling us along and I was trying to keep up. I was thinking either I would have to sit between them, or in which case Porter would have to be on one side of me, or I would have to put Woodrow in between us, in which case Porter would hog all of Woodrow's attention. Putting Porter between me and Woodrow wasn't even an option for me, but it looked like that was what Porter was trying to manipulate when we found 3 empty seats together in the balcony. He maneuvered Woodrow into the seat against the wall. Then he started to follow, but I darted in front of him quicker than a hummingbird and got into my seat. Porter scratched his head, and then he cleared his throat, and he said nothing. I turned my back towards him and pulled my knees up to my chin, facing Woodrow. But it simply wasn't my day. The two of them leaned in and started talking over my head like I wasn't even present. Then the movie started, and nobody talked. My headache was worse, and I knew I was feverish, so she's not feeling well. I tried my best to concentrate on what was happening in the movie, but the Technicolor started melting together and running down the screen. So that's not really happening. Um, she's like obviously sick here, and the screen's looking funny in her mind. Does anybody know what Technicolor is? All right, so movies nowadays are in color. Before that, they were black and white. But the people who were making these black and white films wanted to add color to it, so they basically like drew on top of the film so that the people looked like they were colored, right? But obviously, it doesn't look as natural. So let me see if I can actually show you a picture of like what Technicolor looked like. I don't even know if they're gonna have it, but they probably will be. Yeah, so like The Wizard of Oz is a movie that they Technicolored. So you see how this, right? It doesn't look natural. Like this picture is like The Wizard of Oz. So it doesn't look natural. They've probably even enhanced it, but it just didn't look like it was real, right? So it's like weird colors. It's actually was a little bit more faded. So like this picture is like Technicolored, right? So they like color it in after the fact. So this movie was shot in black and white, and then they go over it with color. Um, all right. So Jimmy Stewart wavered. Grace Kelly got really, really big, then teeny tiny. So she's like losing her mind a little bit. She was climbing up the fire escape, fixing to look into the murderer's window, when I remember a feeling of sudden panic. My mind went into a fog. I lost my grip and I began screaming, "Don't look in there! Don't look in the window!" Porter was so startled he couldn't move. So she's doing an odd thing here. She's screaming at the movie theater screen, and Porter's like kind of like confused by why she's doing this. Um, Porter was so startled he couldn't move. It was Woodrow who put his hand on my arm, and he discovered I was burning up with fever, so she's really sick. She's dying, Woodrow said to Porter, because as he told me later, he didn't see how anybody could get so hot and not die. I went on screaming at Grace Kelly, that's the actress in the movie, "Don't go in there!" But she didn't hear me. The people trying to watch the show, however, heard me loud and clear, and they hollered for me to put a cork in it. Porter came to his senses, grabbed me up in his arms, and carried me out, with Woodrow trotting along behind. So she got super sick that Porter literally had to carry her out of the theater. "Call Doc Dot," Porter yelled at Pearl as we passed the ticket booth. "Tell him to meet me at my house straight away." I remember sinking. I was hot and so sad. Don't look in the window. Something ugly is inside. It was dark when I opened my eyes to the real world again. I was in my own bed, and Mama was there beside me, mopping my face with a cool wet cloth. My lamp was on, but a scarf was thrown over to dim the light. I don't remember much of the day. "Hey," I mumbled, "what's the matter?" "Measles," Mama said. "A very bad case." So measles is actually a disease that you guys actually get vaccines for. So in the beginning of the school year, you guys have to get shots before you go into kindergarten. One of those shots is for measles, so you don't get that. Measles um, and the chicken pox are kind of similar. So it's a disease that put almost like pimple-like things all over your body that were a little bit itchy. But measles also was known to kill people if you didn't take care of it well, because you'd get a really bad fever. Um, "Where's Woodrow?" I said. Grandpa took him back to the 7:30 show. "Why, did we miss something?" Mama smiled. "Well, you could say that. Woodrow can tell you how it ended." Right then I didn't really care. I'd never felt so bad. "Porter's in bed too," Mama said. "Doc had to give him a sedative." "How come?" "Well, you scared him nearly to death. You were delirious, and he thought you were having some kind of fit. So a sedative is something that puts you to sleep or calms you down." "Do I have to go to school tomorrow?" "Oh, no, you're not going back until September. When this term is over next week, you'll have to stay in bed and in the dark for at least 10 more days." "In the dark?" "Well, only dim light, no reading. Measles has been known to settle in the eyes. So I guess they didn't want this disease to spread to her eyes, so they're not letting her do what? What is she not allowed to do?" "Yeah, read." Okay. Um, yeah, so I'm assuming if measles gets in your eyes, it probably could blind you. Again, it's these things that you get are like little pimples. They're crazy looking. All that night, I had strange dreams and hallucinations. One time, I thought I had these little bitty green slits for eyes like a lizard. That's an example of what? Who knows? Who knows? Who knows what that is? That is a simile, correct, Mr. Tunio? I dreamed of blind Benny wandering around the town singing. "It's not so bad being blind," he told me. "I don't have to look at ugly things." And the old nightmare came and went like a bat, swooping down on me, then retreating into the dark, musty caves of my memory. Again, this is another simile. Remember, she keeps having this recurring nightmare about seeing some dead animal. She just over and over again she has this nightmare. Each time I woke up in a frenzy, my mom was there, calm, cool, and beautiful. She sat by me all night long, and the next day she stayed home with me. She made arrangements to take off that whole week from her teaching job to take care of me. Porter, Granny, and Grandpa came in one at a time, but I didn't feel like visiting with them. Doc Dot came around 10 o'clock and he took my temperature. He and Mama went into the hallway and talked about me. "Nightmares," I heard part of what Mama said. "Don't look in the window." Her father was part of Doc's response. I put my pillow over my head. Why is she putting her pillow over her head? Why would she put her pillow over her head? Benya?
She doesn't want to hear him.
Exactly. Right? So she covers her head, but she doesn't want to hear what you're saying. Where am I? Mama brought my meals and put azaleas and honeysuckle sprigs on my tray. I thought that was real sweet of her, and I was sad that I didn't feel like eating or talking to her. Late that evening, I opened my eyes, and there was Woodrow just about a foot above me, his crossed eyes looking into my face. When you said Porter makes you sick, you weren't fooling, were you? So he's obviously telling what here? What's that an example of? He's telling. That's what he's doing. I tried to smile. How you feel? Came the inevitable question. Wait 1 minute, I'm afraid I'm going to die, and the next minute, I'm afraid I'm not. So she makes a joke of her own. He grinned. We heard that line from Minnie Pearl on the Grand Ole Opry last Saturday night. Woodrow sat down in a chair beside my bed. You've heard that expression, cute as a speckled pup? He said, sure. Well, that's what comes to mind when I look at you, Gypsy. He was trying to be nice. So again, the measles used to put like pimples all over your body. So he's saying she looks speckled because she's got dots all over her. Am I speckled? I said. You're one big speckle near about. He said. Do you want a mirror? No. You want to know how the show ended? To tell you the truth, Woodrow, I don't remember how it started. No. Okay, time for medicine, Mama said as she came in with a small glass of something liquid. What's that? Woodrow said. Oh, just a little hot rum to help Gypsy sleep. Doc Dot ordered it. So again, this is something that doctors used to prescribe back in the day that's not recommended now. They actually used to give kids alcohol for like sickness, which is not what people do nowadays, right? So they're giving her rum. So the rum will probably help her sleep. Wow, rum, Woodrow said. I wonder why Daddy didn't give me some of his rum when I had the measles. Excuse me. He watched fascinated as Mama helped me set me up and drink the rum. How is it? He said to me. It's awful, I said, because it was. Daddy always mixed it with apple cider or pop. He said that made it taste better. Mama gave me a quick drink of water. Well, remember next time, said Woodrow. There now, time for rest. Visiting hours are over. Oh, sure, Woodrow said, and he stood up. Good night, Gypsy. Night, Woodrow. And that was the end of the worst part of having the measles. All right, so you are going to go on the Sakurati